Hey guys, welcome back to Tech Tanks. It's been a while since I've made a video, but we're gonna have a good time with this one today. I recently came across this box, I want to say a couple days ago, and I really liked uh, the foothold method that was used. It's not something that I've gotten a lot of practice with in the past, so it made me have to do a little bit of research on it. And I wanted to take the time to explain it to you guys because it definitely is one that you don't hear a lot of. So uh, the foothold method that we're actually going to be explaining is called an Xpath injection, and I'll show you how we were able to achieve it. And then after we get into the system, we're actually going to take a moment, kind of step away from the hacking for a second, and be able to just look at what the source code was and why everything worked. Because it's going to be really hard to explain if you're not actually looking right at the source code itself for the web page. So if you would like to follow along, I'm not doing a hack the box this time. This is actually OffSec, and this is their proving grounds. You'll see in my console, I mislabeled it. I put it as training grounds, but that's neither here nor there. But if you'd like to follow along, this one is called Wheels. So feel free to get that one launched up and get ready to go. I have already completed our Nmap scan, so that is going to be right here. There are only two open ports. The first open port is going to be SSH on port 22, and then port 80, there is an Apache server running. And here's the title. It's really all we got on this, so let's go ahead and get this up. So there's a couple of things that we're going to want to look at here. Let me, oh boy, where is, none of that's going to work. Okay. Okay, so 192, 168, 58, and 202. All right. So that pulls up this website, and so we have a typical home screen. This will, looking at where some of these things will take us. So far, every single one of these hyperlinks will just take us right back to the home screen. So kind of useless. But right off the top, there's a couple things here that we want to kind of keep an eye on, which is register, login, and employee portal. Right. So these are three things that we like to see. We love login screens. There's chance for some possible SQL injection or something like that. Registration, anytime you can register for a site, you get two different views on it right at that point, right? You can see it as an outside user, but if you're able to actually register and make an account that you can log into, you now get to see it as an authenticated user, most likely with low-level privileges, but an authenticated user nonetheless. All right, and then employee portal. I mean, please, that's where we always like to be, right? So I'm going to go ahead and start with employee portal. And it takes me to login.php, which is probably this link here, which if you look on the bottom left part of the browser, that's exactly what this page is. So this takes us to the same spot as this. So most likely we need to be logged in as an employee, and then we can go to the employee portal. Okay, good to know. Because you can see on the bottom left where the web page for this is going to be portal.php. So as far as for login, we can just do please match the requested format. Okay, so let's try, I don't know, admin. Admin's always a good one, guys. And then we'll do an apostrophe, kind of see if we get anything here. Nope. Admin, we'll try like apostrophe or apostrophe A, apostrophe equals apostrophe A. Nothing. Okay, so we're not going to beat a dead horse here. We're going to go ahead and register. And so the information it wants is our username, our email, and our password. Okay. Now, when I first went through here, I just did I think my Usual is like test. Yep. Test at test.com. And password is test. So registration was successful. Let's see what happens when I log in. So we did test, test. Took me right back to the main screen. What about employee portal? Access is denied. So notice now we do have a different response. Okay, so we are being denied. Why are we being denied? We're not listed as an employee. So there's a few things that we are able to look at. Now, the point of this video is for the most part to show you a particular foothold as far as for an injection. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time going through the process that I went through here. I did use burp. I checked when you register a new person, is there some kind of variable that is presented where it's like employee 1 or 0 or anything like that? The answer was no. And after testing that out for a little bit, I kind of scrolled through the rest of the page and I came across this, which is info@wheels.service. So then I started thinking, what happens if I put an email with wheels.service? So we're going to go through here. We're going to come in here and we're going to just put test and I'm going to put test@wheels.service. And then I'm going to go ahead and use the test password again. Registration was successful. So now I'm going to go ahead and log in. And I'm going to do tester and test and log in. So login was successful, employee portal, and suddenly we have something different. So the way that it was checking and whether or not you were an employee was based off of the domain on your email address. Okay, so always looking around for different things. So that was a little nice to see where it's like it was just a simple email verification because there's no email validation, and there are different websites where I've come across that as well where they don't verify your email. It's basically they just assume you're supplying a good email, which is a bad way to do things. But that's beside the point here. So we were able to basically now get into the employee portal part. All right, now here there's not a lot, as you can see, right? We have a drop-down box with two options, car and bike, and it says search users by service, and then we have our little search button here. So we'll just leave it on car, we'll do search. Now there's a couple things to notice here. A, we get stuff, right? 1, 2, 3, Bob, Alice, John. Also, if you look here, our URL changed to include a couple of parameters. The first one being work, which equals what was selected here. So it seems at least. And then there's another one, action equals search. So the next thing to do is make sure that these two are connected, which most likely they are, but I've had a couple times where they're not. It was something odd. So I always now double check. And yeah, they're connected, right? I selected bike, now it says bike, there we go. And then search. So there's a couple things here. Anytime you see parameters in the URL, such as this, that should be the first thing that you take a look at, right? And then as far as for what you should do with it, I don't know. I'm going to put an apostrophe. And this is how we start identifying what kind of error we get. So if you saw something along the lines of, some kind of SQL error, then okay, this is a SQL thing. In this case, we get an XML element, right? The invalid expression, with the Xpath. So we know that we are messing with, an XML query. So as it stands right now, this looks like it could be an Xpath injection, right? And so looks like we might have our path to go through. Now, when it comes to XML injections, there are times it works a little bit like a SQL injection where you could do like the apostrophe or A equals A and do things that way. Honestly, for something like this, payload all the things is going to be your best friend, right? Especially if this is an area where you're not overly strong. And honestly, the way that I handle this, I'm going to go ahead and blow this screen up just so we have everything we have. I'm going to open this in a new tab. And I came over here because I'm not well versed in like X queries and things like that. So, but based on what I saw, I knew kind of the route we were going to go with it, right? This is going to be an Xpath injection. So basically, I came over here and I kind of started just going down the line, but I'm going to just jump straight to this one because I did get a result here. And I just place that right into there. Okay. Now, what I'm looking for is very similar to SQL injection, guys. When you are looking for any kind of injection, you're trying to get a different response. You may not get results as far as I'm getting ready to, query for users. I may not get users listed, but what I want is something different than what I have in front of me right now. Because if I get something different, that tells me that it is very much injectable, right? Just because I created an error does not necessarily mean that I can exploit it. It just means that I can break it. And maybe that's your goal, but that's not the goal here. So I'm going to press enter. And if you notice, I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but it's all blank, right? And then it says that there's no user entity found, basically, right? All this data, there's nothing found. So what I do know is that this is now injectable. What I don't know is necessarily the path that goes with it. Now, there's a certain amount of, okay, this is a easy level box, so they're not going to go too crazy with it. But also, there's a certain amount where we know that there's a user being, like there are users, right? Because again, if I go back to car and I hit search, I am pulling up users. This Xpath injection will not just randomly go into some random section to try to pull data, right? It is basically querying what appears to be an XML document where there is a user listed and the service that they provide is listed. So what I'm hoping, where I'm going to go with this is I'm hoping that there is a password that I might be able to take advantage of as well, right? And we can go over here and we can look and see if there's anything such as here and all that. But what I could tell you is that this won't work. And instead of beating a dead horse and just testing out all these random things, I would rather take a little bit of time and explain why it won't work when we can look at the actual code itself. Okay, so what I'm going to actually go ahead and do here is just put in what I know will work and kind of go from there. Okay, so we're going to come back over here, and what I know that does work is I basically do the same start that we did on the last thing that we put in. And again, this will make sense later. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this in, right? Password. And there was a bit of trial and error involved. Okay, this is not something where I just jump straight to this and it was successful. But that partially just comes with practice and a couple hours of time to be able to waste at various points in history on this particular topic and just testing out various things. So when I do this though, I get 6 passwords. Now, one thing that kind of came from here. So first of all, I did end up just copying down these passwords, which is obviously the first thing that we should be doing. Let's jump right back into this. I'm gonna go ahead and just blow this up now, and I'm gonna go ahead and just do a gedit, and I'm gonna just call this pass. We'll do this. And I know, guys, I could really just do this on the command prompt, but I just don't care right now. I'm gonna just go through and do this manually. Cool. All right. Bam. So I just made myself the password list from what we got here. And then I'm actually gonna make this a little bit smaller because what I'm gonna do is I realized that there were 6, right? And then I came through and I looked at car, I have 3, and then I looked at bike and I have 3. 3 plus 3 equals 6. Kind of get where I'm going here. So we don't know for sure what order these passwords belong to, um, like what order these passwords are loaded in. So we're going to have to do a little bit of password spraying, but we at least have an idea that one of these should work, right? So I'm going to just go ahead and just echo Dan, and I'm going to put it into users. We're going to echo Alex, put it into users, echo Celine, and yeah, we're going to put that into users. Then we're going to go to car, because remember it's on bike currently. Then we're going to go ahead and echo Bob into users, echo Alice also into users, and echo John into users. Now, if you're wondering, because remember these videos are for the newbies, so if you're an experienced one, skip ahead like 30 seconds. If you're wondering what what I'm doing here, echo essentially tells the command line to whatever I just put it out, right? But then I redirect the output with these into a file that I created now called users. And I created that file right here. One will overwrite the file. Two will add to the file, a little pen to it, right? So if I cat users, I now have all the users listed. Okay, so we're going to just do a random example here, echo testing, and we're going to put that into test, right? And now I have a file called test. If I were to echo this and go like this, and then I cat test again, now all of a sudden the file says this. So one will overwrite the file, right? One of these. Two will append to the file. So again, testing this idea, I guess. Then we'll do test, cat test, and now all of a sudden we have both. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense for those of you who didn't know what I was doing there. We're going to go ahead and just remove that file because I don't care about it. So we now have the users file and we have the password file. So there's different tools you can use. I've kind of started liking this one. Unfortunately, like the context of it could be a little odd if you're not used to it. So there's a couple places for just like quick searches. Let me blow this up. There we go. So right here, it'll show you for the most part how it's used. But when I first looked at it, this part kind of threw me off. There's an easy way to do it. So basically, we're going to just do potato SSH login. We're going to do host is equal to, oh crap, I don't remember. I don't know. 192.168.58.202. 168.58.202. Oops. Right? Yeah, we're good. All right. Then you can do user, and then we're going to put file 0. Password is going to equal file 1. And then we're going to put 0 is equal to, I think I just called it users, right? Oh, cheese balls. What the hell's going on here? Oh, crap, I didn't do tmux. That's awesome. You know what? Hold on. There we go. All right. So let's do that again. Potato SSH. And by the way, real quick, actually, I want to show you this. So Potato has multiple options, right? So since I'm using SSH login, so when you first, if you just do Potato H, it'll show you all these different options. We're focusing on SSH, right? We have 6 passwords, 6 usernames. We're going to try to get us into a SSH shell, right? Which, spoiler alert, that's the route to go. So after you select which one you're looking for, you can do the H again, and that will give you instructions specifically to the one you're working on. So again, host is going to equal to 192.168.58.202. User is going to equal file 0. Password is going to equal file 1. And you are able to just put in a username if you know just the one name you need. In this case, we're going to be doing some spraying for users and passwords. So I'm putting in 2 files. And then you're going to just put 0 is equal to, and this is the part that I wanted to make sure. Yeah, and then it's going to be users, and then 1 is going to be equal to pass. Obviously, file paths are acceptable here, so you are able to, do like user share word list rocky.txt or something like that. Anyway, so one more thing to show you here, because there's basically you'll start getting a lot of authentication failures. So you can actually tell Potato to ignore a particular message. So if this shows up, I don't want to see it, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just copy it since I'm right here. But if we just do this, so what ends up happening now is it just kind of sits here for a moment while it's doing its thing, and then we will be told when something ends up working, like that one, right? So give it a moment. It shouldn't take long. There's only so many possibilities. Awkward silence. Okay, so if I were to remove this, right, what ends up happening, and we're going to make this a little bit shorter because I don't want to wait. I'm going to remove the users one because I already know who the user is now. We got to hit on Bob. Okay, so now you're seeing this set up a little bit differently. I put a specific username. I put the password file, and I've never tried it where I skipped the 0 though, so we'll see if that works. But now I've also removed the X ignore. Okay, just for demonstration purposes. Yep, we got a problem. Okay, so, oops, man, I'm having an issue today. All right, so jump straight to, or go down to 0. That should work now. Yeah. So now you'll start seeing authentication failed, authentication failed. Okay, apparently not the first one. So by adding this, it just ignores that. So we don't have to see all this. We only see what works. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just copy the password because that's all we need. But notice also it doesn't give the username like it did before because we only tested the one username. So there you go. There's some password spraying demonstrations for you. So we're going to go ahead and SSH as Bob into 192.168.58 and 202. And yep. And sure, why not? Here's my password. Yay! All right, and looks like we're just using a typical SH, no bash. It's okay, we can live with that. First one, oh, that's, sorry, wrong one. So there's your flag for the local if you want that one. And then, as I said, we're going to step away for a moment here, and we're going to come into the, what? There we go. System froze for a moment. So we're going to come into the web directories and take a look at those files a little bit. So, went into the search, and we're going to go ahead and cat out the works.xml. And notice here we have Bob password service, in which we have car, bike, bike, bike. So we just found the file that's being queried, right? So, okay, that's good to know. Now what ends up happening here, if we go back to this, and I'll bring it down so we can see both at the same time here. So what's going on here is we basically have, like, we search for car, and that is running a search for anything that says car. Because notice now we have Bob, Alice, John, right? We do bike, and we should get Dan, Alex, Celine. Perfect. So it's just searching for this tag right here, right? So let's find out what the actual query is, which we would need to go here. Oh, man. Oh, I'm going to do it again. Okay. We'll go into the HTML this time. Oh, my God. Okay. And so we are on the portal.php, right? So there's your file. So we're going to go ahead and let's just cat that one now. And it might end up being pretty big. Oh, terrible. Okay. So what we're going to focus on is, actually, you know what? Let's just see what we can find here. I want to take the chance that I screw up and I look at the wrong spot. So, doop, 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 doop. So, search. All right, here we go. This is what we're looking for. Okay, so we are looking here. Okay, that's actually the part that matters most. So work is obviously going to be the variable that's being figured out, which we have the request, work, blah, 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 blah. But this is the part that matters, okay? This is our PHP Xpath query, all right? Which you can Google PHP and all that. Let's see here. So you can Google XPath and the function on it, but basically what it comes down to is this is where you put in your query. Now this is where we get into that opportunity to be able to explain how it actually works, right? And so the way that all this does, and Hacktricks, the website, has a great explanation on it, but basically these two forward slashes right here select the node in the document. Okay. Now, if we recall, the the work was the like the main element that we were looking into. And so what we're basically doing here is we're looking into the work element, which I'll go back to the XML document in a moment. But we're looking into this, and then here is basically we're going to substitute this, right? And we're substituting the service, we're looking at the service tag, and we're going to substitute the word work into service, okay? And then we want the employee. That's what we're looking for. So we are querying, let's do this. Gedit, and we're going to just do a temp file here. Perfect. So that way I could kind of type this out so it makes a little more sense. Let me get back on here. Up. Where'd it go? Right there. Okay. Let's go down a little bit. Okay. So basically the way that a query works here is for when we're doing an Xpath query, it's basically I want everything in the working, like anything inside of the work tags I am looking for, and then again, insert whatever selected. So going back to the website, we'll say it's car. And I want every employee listed under, or that has car under work, right? So this returns, this is our query. And when we go to here and we select car, we are pulling up anybody who has car listed under service, right? We want the employee name, right? Because if we go back to the first document, let's see, where am I right now? So I got to back it up a little bit. LSLA. CD search. That's what we're looking for. And then we're going to, man, I'm having a terrible time with this XML. So just going back to this, employee is where we have the name, right? So it doesn't have to say name. That's what the tag is, employee. I want that value returned for anybody who has car or bike, right? Whatever we're substituting in, listed. That's what we're searching for. So taking a step back for a moment, we're going to go back to that spot here. There we go. Okay, so here's our query. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it for you. Okay, so what we did with our injection, if you recall, our injection looked like this, right? And then we did this, and do. Okay. So that was our query. Now, if we look at this here, notice what opens up, right? We have a parenthesis, we have our double quote, and then we have work, and then we open up a bracket, contains, right? And sorry, this is actually the part we're focusing on here. Contains. Sorry, ignore everything here. Contains, and then we have the opening parenthesis, and then we have whatever word, in this case it's service, and then we have our variable that's being put in, which is the work one, and then we have that surrounded in single quotes, and then we have parenthesis, and then we have a closing bracket, and then continue the query. This is the part we're trying to inject. So we cannot change the fact that contains is there, right? So basically this part is set in stone. Work, contains. This is set. We cannot alter this. And then in this case, it's going to be service. What we're trying to do is change this part. This is where we're taking over, right? So we're going to do this, and then we're going to close it, and now we're putting password. Okay, this is what we're putting under as work. The reason why we're doing this is we just closed out the contains function, and now we're giving it a new path to go. We want the passwords for anything listed with, basically nothing, anything at that point, right? And then what we're doing here is I want to add in, like I want to tie in another query. And now we're just making a brand new one. And this is where the last part comes in, which we do the contains, right? And then we just make this, and then we do this, and then we allow this to finish up what it's doing. Okay, so I know this is a lot to take in on the first shot, especially if this is a brand new concept to you, but try to think of it from this perspective. we are trying to take over here. So this is not filtering or anything. It's simply taking what we put in. So I put this in under work because I'm wanting to close this off and I want to try to get this, right? The password. And so I inserted that part in, which ends up close. And then, so I close off the parentheses that contains, it's done. And then I inject, I want the password. And then I continue on saying, and then I want to combine. And then we're going to do A. And that part's irrelevant. I could have put Bob. I could have put, Sicily, whatever. It doesn't matter. And then I open my bracket and put contains. Now you may be wondering, well, why did you put contains? Why are you, why did you put that there? Because this is a PHP XPath function. I know this is running PHP because the file has PHP on it, and I know it's running Xpath, right? I know these things. And remember, when we attempted the payload from payload all the things, it worked with this in there. So I know it's running contains. So I have to open that back up, supply another arbitrary variable or arbitrary value, comma, right? Because that's how it works. And then an apostrophe. And then I just let it finish itself off. So basically, what is now finishing here is, whoops, sorry. Right? So that's what's happening is this is saying, and add in this query, and then I allow this to finish off because I can't comment it out, right? If you think of SQL injection, you will comment out the remainder of the query, right? So if you're doing like a select statement in this scenario, right, you do select, password, and then ignore everything else, right? I don't want you to worry about anything else. Just stop here. I can't do that with XPath. So I have to let it finish its query. To do that, I just, again, open up a new one and then let it wrap itself up. So I hope that explanation works. I know it's a lot to try to take in, but the idea behind it is I'm injecting my way into the path. I'm giving it a new path to follow, and then I add in this query, and I don't care what it does with that one in the end. I'm just letting it finish itself off. So hopefully that helped with the explanation. Um, if not, try another video to explain it. It's again, practice, Google, understand what the XPath queries are and all that, and everything will make a lot more sense as you just experience it more and more. But hopefully I was able to explain that a little bit and kind of shine some light on that for you. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to wrap up this system. So let's see here. So yeah, let's go back to our default path here and do some do some general searches, right? So we're gonna do search perm US type F, and then of course our put all errors into the dev null output. So for those of you who don't know what I'm doing at the moment, I am basically searching to see if there are any SUID binaries that I can execute. All right, and for SUID, that is basically you can run that binary as the owner. Is what that's coming down to. Now with these snap ones, I've never had good experiences with these. So, I mean, usually I'll actually grep v these out so I don't see them. But we got one right here also, the opt get list. Looks like it's an executable. So, whoops, wrong button. So that's going to be where we're going. All right, and then to show you kind of the SUID part here. So it's owned by root. I am able to run execution, but it's SUID, right? So when this executes, it runs as the root user. So let's take a look and see what this does. Which list do you want to open? Well, gosh darn it, I'll open the customers, I suppose. Opening file, opens that up. Okay, I get a list of names. Awesome sauce. Get list, and then let's do, I don't know, employees. Cool. All right, one more just random thing here. So clearly this is opening a file, and I'm believing that it's not lying to me. Let me put it that way. So we're going to run the get list, and then what do you want to open? Etsy password. Oops, something went wrong. Well, darn. All right, well, let's see if we can pull anything from the strings. Get list, strings is not found. Cool. So, I mean, you could try doing this. I have succeeded a few times by just running a cat command on it. Um, which here's the thing, yes, you can. So cat won't work for like obviously this section, which is doing something even weirder as I highlight it. But obviously won't work for everything. But what does work is so strings just gets rid of all this gobbledygook that we can't understand. But strings just pulls plain text from it, which we can see in the cat, right? If we run cat, we see this, which obviously this is some kind of echo or print command, something along those lines, right? And so let's see. Um, we see this. I don't know what I did. And then we see this repeats again. Then opening file. And then it's using bin cat, so can't inject the path. Root details. So this is basically in the root directory. Go to the details directory. That file, dev null for something. Oops, something went wrong. So looking at this, what strikes me is this. Why do we see customers and employees again? Right? That becomes the big question. Um, and so I'm kind of wondering is it doing a check? Right? Because I don't see anything that like there's no check in here that I'm seeing to make sure that I'm not messing with it. So it's like, okay, let's clear this first because that was just nuts. So if I do get list, right, and then it's like, which list do you want to open? Well, I'm going to try doing this. So it is providing a path. So I'm going to try to back out of the path and do etc password. And then I'm going to go ahead and then just arbitrarily add in, right? Because this is running a command. So I'm going to do this and employees, right? Arbitrary thing here. And it works, right? So now you start looking at, okay, why is it, that this, that this worked? Because what that extra employees and customers was, it's checking is employees or customers in there. If so, then whatever. If not, then here, this is where we're at right now. So basically, I put in a file path. So the file that ended up getting executed, right, was like it was basically a cat against root details, and then it was do etc password, and that was the path. And then I kind of stepped to the side here and went employees, right? So to kind of test this out here, we could, if we do like we'll do cat, we'll do the home training grounds. I don't know what's some of this stuff. Fail, and then we'll do dub, right? And then we'll back out of there, right? So, and I got to try to count this correctly because it's just gonna get nuts. See, and you can see where it's now working, and then I do nmap. So this is what we're doing, right? Which, if you notice, it worked. So you can back out like that in the middle of a path, right? And then what I'm doing is just employees, which, as you can see, it doesn't care about that. So I'm going to clear this out. I'm going to do that again. So even on my system, employees, whatever, I'm going to just still print this out, right? So now it's like, okay, we can print arbitrary files. So what can we do with this? Well, there's a couple things. You could try to get like an ID RSA file from the SSH directory. That is an option to try. That won't work. Spoiler alert. So what you can do though is do another really awesome file that it's always good to have, Etsy Shadow, and then once again we'll just do employees. Look at that, we have an Etsy Shadow file, right? And then now we can just kind of grab what we want from here. So I'm going to go ahead and actually There we go. Make this bigger so that way I can just copy paste this whole thing. Yes, guys, for those of you looking at me going, why on earth are you not using the Tmux copy paste? Honestly, I hate it with a freaking passion. I hate it. So I just always, make alter my screen size so that way I can do what I want here, which, as you can see, sometimes just kind of produces this mess. Although I think I got to stop using my laptop for recording these videos. Like, it's easier for you guys to see, but my system kind of freezes up on me. Like, I can't even. There we go. Now I can start moving this. So we'll say this. I think the formatting kind of got screwed, but we'll test it out. Oh, we're good. All right. So with the shadow file, let's go ahead and make this bigger again. Now we're going the opposite. So now we're going to go ahead and do shadow. Jesus. So if you do, I want to say it's like SHA 512, but this is something that I like to show people because it's a cool little tool. Right? You have hash ID. For those of you that are still like learning your hashes and all that, and how can I figure out what they are and all that? Well, you can just do you can take this, right? Because they're going to be using the same one here. So take this and oh my goodness gracious, why can I not? There we go. Copy it, drop down, and you can just do hash ID, and I believe we just do this, right? Unknown hash. Oh no, you know what I did? I know what I did. I screwed up. My bad. Sorry about that. So it's a SHA 512 crypt, all right? And then what we could do is do hashcat h grep SHA. I'll leave it at that. And then find our SHA 512. But there's a couple things to keep in mind. Well, I guess we're probably actually going to want 512. Dang, hashcat, you're all over the place with this. All right. So you notice we have Unix. This is the correct one, right? So now what we do is we could just do hashcat A0MM 1800. Then what do I call this? Like shadow. Yep. You could do user, share, wordless, rocky.txt, and run it. Oh, maybe there is going to be a problem. I don't know. Wait not a moment. I'm getting an exception. No filters. All right, we'll just take a moment here. Bam. High School Musical. So see, we already cracked it. For those of you that are cheating and now you're going to just hop on as root user, shame on you. But bam. So now we're root. All right, now you got to do the who am I and ID. Bam. And now you can post it up and brag about how awesome you are. Okay, so the big takeaway, guys, was the Xpath injection. I hope the explanations were useful. If I did a piss poor job of explaining it, I'm sorry. I tried. But yeah, hopefully you guys found this video helpful. Again, this is the wheels box on OffSec Proving Grounds, and this is in the practice category. Highly recommend it. It's pretty awesome, and catch you guys on the next video.